Hello and welcome to Tewksbury Public Library's Foodie Friday tutorial, Pretzel Bites. What is included in your materials bag if you've signed up on time is 4 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 tablespoon of granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 cup of baking soda, 1 packet of active dry yeast, and an ingredients list. You will also need 1 tablespoon of unsalted butter, 9 cups of water used to boil, and 1½ cups of water, which we will make lukewarm with the microwave later. Those are not included. Tools needed: you're going to need a hand mixer or a stand mixer, a medium or large pot that can hold up to 9 cups of water, a baking sheet, a mixing bowl, a pizza cutter or knife, a cutting board, a slotted spoon, a microwavable cup, and oven mitts. You'll also need 1 cup measuring cup, 1/2 cup measuring cup. We have a 1 teaspoon measuring spoon, 1 tablespoon measuring spoon. You won't need those unless if you have your materials included. You will need them if you don't. You will need space on your counter or your table to work on, 1 rubber spatula and 1 plastic spatula, a microwave, oven, and an actual oven, and then 1 paper towel piece or a damp towel, whichever you have. And there's also optional ingredients which are not included, such as toppings for your pretzels like salt or cinnamon sugar, or dips for your pretzels such as queso or mustard. And we also recommend the tools such as cooking spray and parchment paper. They're not required, but they will help you out. You're also going to want to wash your hands because you'll need clean hands when we knead and shape the dough later on. So you're going to start with your mixing bowl and your rubber spatula, and you're going to get out your measuring cups, which is the 1/2 cup and the full cup. You're going to fill them with water, and you're going to add that 1 cup and 1/2 cup of water to a microwavable cup, such as a ceramic cup. Wait 30 seconds, just about. When you take it out, you can test it by putting your finger in it. If it's your temperature of your body, then it is body temperature, which is room temp, lukewarm. You're going to have 1 tablespoon of sugar, 1 packet of active dry yeast. I use a small bowl here. You can just put it in your large mixing bowl. I don't know why I started with a small bowl. You're going to cut open that or tear open the yeast packet. You're going to add it to the sugar. The sugar is what the yeast eats to make carbon dioxide, which gives you that fluffy texture you see in glutinous items such as breads and pretzels. We're going to add that lukewarm water and activate everything. Again, you can just do this in your mixing bowl. You don't need to do it in a separate bowl like I did. You'll see I do end up adding it to the big bowl. Just want to make sure to get it all in there. There we go. We're going to take our hand mixer here. I have a hand mixer. You can use a stand mixer as well. You're going to mix it on low. Now, my mixer only goes high, so... You're going to mix it so all the clumps are gone. Again, my mixer only goes high. You're going to want yours on low the whole time. So you're going to cover it. We can do this with a cover or saran wrap, paper towel, etc. We're going to get 1 tablespoon of unsalted butter. Most butter sticks have a measurement here. We're just going to cut 1 tablespoon off of here. We're going to keep that other piece of the butter for later, and we're going to take this little piece, we're going to place it in that microwavable cup that we used earlier so we can microwave and melt it. Depending on your microwave, it's going to be anywhere between 45 to 60 seconds, sometimes a little bit more. You can do it in increments to see it's melted, but you'll see you want it to be completely melted. Put that aside. I'm going to start with 3 cups of flour, although if you have material kits, this will be pre-measured. If you are just doing it at home with your own materials, you're going to want to measure out 3 cups of flour. And you can put this, so you'll need your yeast mixture to sit for about 10 minutes. So if you want to put your flour in after the yeast mixture is done, you can do that. Or you can put it in a separate bowl and add it after. But I'm just showing an example here. You're going to want your melted butter ready. And then measure out a tablespoon of salt. Again, you can wait for your yeast mixture to be done sitting, which is about 10 minutes, before measuring these. Or if you're impatient like me, you can measure them and add them to a bowl and then add it to the mix, however you want to do it. But you want 3 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, and that 1 tablespoon of butter. So here's our covered mixture. After 10 minutes, you'll see it's foamy, which means the yeast is working. That's good. You're going to add the melted butter first. Then we're going to add, let's see, our salts. That's our 1 teaspoon of salt. And then we're going to add those 3 cups of flour. So here's 1 cup here. You can choose to add 1 cup, then mix, 2 cup, another cup, and mix, another cup, and mix, but it works just as well if you add it all in. So see, there's a 2nd cup. Make sure you're getting it all out because it likes to stick in that cup. And there's our 3rd cup of flour. 3 cups. If you're using our materials bags, the 3/4 cup is for later, so just ignore that. If you're doing it from home, you're just going to measure out those 3 cups and add them in. And we're going to bring in our mixer again, and you're going to mix it on low. Again, mine goes high, so just be aware it's going to be a little different than yours, and it's going to stick to it more because it's on high. Yours, when you do it on low, it does not stick as much. See, mine got really stuck. That's because it's on high. Unfortunately, that's the only speed I have on my old mixer here. So if the dough gets stuck, you can use the spatula to remove. Again, this is really glutinous, sticky dough, so it does really get stuck. Again, if you put it on low, it's going to stick less than mine did. Mine only goes high, so it is going to stick more. So I just want to make sure you know that. If yours only goes high, then you'll probably have the same problem as me. You just have to make sure to scrape the dough off at increments when it happens. And the best way to scrape off the dough is to put your spatula, cut it through between the 2 mixer blades there, and try to scrape it off best you can. Very sticky dough. All right, and then getting the spatula off again. Also, if you have some flour or mix up on the side, you can use your spatula to scrape that down back into the rest of the dough. Like I said, you may have to do this a few times. Just want to make sure you get all the flour incorporated. A nice sticky dough is a good dough. You can kind of fold the flour around the edges into the rest of the dough. And then you're going to add that 3/4 cup of flour to it. So you'll see I'm using a 1 cup measure, and I'm just putting in roughly about 3/4 of flour in there. And you're going to mix it on low. That lasts a little bit once again. Again, it's going to stick to mine a little bit more than because it only goes on high. Struggling, but it gets there eventually. It's almost all the dough on it. Just means it's a good pretzel dough. Pizza dough kind of looks like this too, actually. Similar, but a little different. You'll see it kind of, gonna see getting all those pieces in, all the flour. And we're gonna get our work surface ready. We're gonna start with a cutting board. You can transfer this or move it on work surface onto your table. I just use my cutting board first. So put a little bit of flour, dusting flour. Using your kits, it'll be in a little container. You just need a little bit, you don't need a lot. And then transfer that dough out. You can use your spatula if it's still stuck to the side, but it should be mostly together. You don't have to be perfect. Makes a lot more than you think. We're going to knead the dough, so you can use your palms and you press down, and then you kind of rotate the dough, making sure that each side gets it all done. You're going to want to knead the dough for about 2 minutes. If it does stick, just dust some more flour underneath or on your hands. It's on your hands. See, I rub a little bit on my hands. Just a little. You don't want a lot. You're just going to knead it using, like, again, your palms, your thumbs, ever so slightly, kind of like a cat, you know. Make sure to lift up once in a while so you get the side that's on the surface. This is going to make sure there's no giant air bubbles and that all the flour is incorporated in there. You'll see it gets kind of sticky. That's okay. And like I said, use the heel of your hand, gets a really good squish. You don't want to press down so much that the dough is squished to the counter or so that it smears on the counter. That's almost too flat. You just want a little bit. Just like push and roll. That's basically what kneading is. This is the funnest part, I think. Well, second funnest. I'm just going to shape into a rough ball right here. Doesn't need to be perfect. It's not going to stay that way. I'm just going to cover it with just a regular old paper towel. You can use a wet towel as well. You're going to let the dough rest for 10 minutes. This is going to make the gluten relax so that when we stretch and roll things out, it's not going to shrink back to a ball. In the meantime, we're going to preheat our oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. It's going to take a little bit to preheat there. We're going to use our leftover butter stick to grease our sheet pan, or you can use parchment paper and cooking spray instead. Either way works. Even if you have a nonstick pan, still would be a good idea to butter or, again, parchment paper and cooking spray together would work just as well. You can see I'm just using the butter and just basically coloring it on. I want to make sure to get the edges there. So our dough is just about rested. I'm going to spread out just a little bit so I can cut it well. So I'm just going to cut it into 6 equalish pieces. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's just going to make sure that each roll that we make, you can kind of cut it like a pizza with 3 cuts. You still have to adjust it a little bit. So 1 down the middle, 1, and then we're going to do like an X. Again, like a 6-piece pizza. Doesn't have to be perfect, it's just going to make it so that when we roll out our pretzels that they're going to be roughly the same thickness. So we'll have like a really fat pretzel, really thin pretzel, then one could burn and one could not. You're just going to put aside the pieces you're not going to use on a floured surface, or you can use like a plate. And so we can use one segment at a time. So see, I kind of put that to the side. And the flour surface again, you're probably going to move the pizza cutter or whatever knife you're using. I don't know why I kept it out. You're going to take a segment and you're going to roll it into a 20-inch rope. Again, don't leave the pizza cutter like I did on there. I eventually do move it. Yeah, there we go. So you can actually pull it to stretch it a little bit. Kind of do this with pizza dough too. Just make sure it's gentle so that you're not having areas that are too thick and too thin. So you can roll against the table. You want it to be roughly about 20 inches. You can kind of think that size of a cutting board, or if you have a piece of paper for the directions, you can think of it as almost roughly 2 of those lengthwise. You're going to use the pizza cutter or a knife, I recommend pizza cutter, to cut the dough rope into about 2-inch pieces. You don't need to make them perfect, just roughly the same length. And you can use one piece of dough to measure it out so they're all the same. If you're shaping a regular pretzel shape, then you would take this little rope of dough that we have and shape it into the pretzel shape. But since we're doing bites, we're going to cut them. And so we're going to cut up 6 ropes into 2-inch pieces for each one. And you're going to put the cut ones aside. I recommend putting them on a plate. Because I'm going to repeat the same process for each of the dough segments, just going to do the same song and dance. And reflour the surface if you need to. So you don't have to see the same thing 6 times. I'm just going to speed up the video here. Alright, you're going to want to transfer all your pieces onto plates or cutting board to move it near your stove. You're going to have a pot. You're going to fill it with 9 cups of water and turn it up to high so that way it will boil. You're going to add a half a cup of baking soda to that and mix it in, preferably before you put it on the stove. If it does boil and get foamy, just turn it down a little bit. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put your sheet pan next to your stove top. You're going to add 3 to 6 dough pieces. And you're going to put them in the pot. Use your slotted spoon to remove them after 10 to 15 seconds. So you can count your Mississippis and then take them out. I usually do it to 10 seconds. By the time I actually pull them out, 10, 15, 15. You're going to repeat with the rest of the dough pieces. Again, you're just going to drop in those pieces, so I usually do 4 to 6 at a time. And it does take a little bit to do them all since we have so much we're making. So it's basically 4 to 6 pieces, put them in the boiling water. You'll see mine's kind of foamy because it was overheating a little bit. That's fine, just turn it down in that case. And then you're going to put those, like I said, 4 to 6 dough pieces into the boiling water with the baking soda in there. You're going to count to 10 seconds and then take them out. If they're in there for 15, that's okay. But if you leave them in for too long, they kind of have like a baking soda, like aluminum tinny taste. So you don't want to keep it in for more than 15 seconds if you can. Not the end of the world, though. So you're just going to do that for all your bites. And put them on your pan. So once they're boiled, you put them on the pan with a slotted spoon. Alright, so it looks like just about the last of them. Just going to spread out the dough bites so they don't touch each other too much. It's okay if they do a little. Now, if you have coarse salt, you're going to sprinkle it on. I just sprinkled on a little bit of just regular table salt. Not as good, but still pretty tasty. If you're doing like cinnamon sugar and stuff, you're going to not do this step, of course. You're just, if it's salt, you're going to salt them now. If you're not going to salt them, then don't. Or if you're going to do something else with the toppings, just don't do anything. Leave them as is. We're going to put it in the oven for 15 minutes or until golden brown. It was just about 15 minutes for me, but it depends on your oven. And middle rack if it's different heights. You're going to move them after 15 minutes. Look at that golden brown. You'll see some of them, even the stuck ones, are going to come out great, so don't worry. So, made a bigger pan than I do, but look at all those beautiful bites. They're just like chewy and soft, and they're amazing when they're hot out of the oven. So just place that pan on a cool stove top or on a countertop with oven mitts. You're going to remove the pretzel bites from the pan with a plastic spatula. They do come off pretty good. If you use parchment paper, usually you can just move the parchment paper. But a spatula seems to work great. You can just put them in a bowl or a container. They usually keep for up to 3 days after cooked. But they are best eaten fresh. And then you just serve and enjoy. So if you're doing brown sugar cinnamon, you're going to toss them in butter and sugar and cinnamon. Otherwise, you can just eat them as is. You can see all the beautiful texture in there. And enjoy. Look at those beautiful pretzel bites. I hope you had a fun time. It was a little interesting at the beginning, but it turned out really good. So thanks for watching. You can check out more on our Instagrams, Facebook, and YouTube pages. And until next time.